and Hallie is here, pinch hitting for Cantor Joel. So I thank you for welcoming us. We will try to not have too many surprises for you. So let's take a couple deep breaths, close our eyes. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome. Hine Matov.
Yeah, I think we're going to begin with Hine Matov, which I believe is on page 128,
yes.
if you want to follow along. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad.
Thank you. The rabbis were having an argument, especially one of those arguments that rabbis have over this oven that this man Achnai had brought in. He'd had this oven that was broken, and he'd put it back together. And the question was whether or not it was still kosher after he'd put it back together. And they were having an argument, as rabbis do, and it went on for a long time. And it ended up that Rabbi Eliezer was all by himself on one side, and all the other rabbis in the Beit Midrash at the time were on the other side. And Rabbi Eliezer, getting so frustrated, finally said, if the halakha, the law, is in accord with my views, that tree will prove it. Whereupon a carob tree stood up, walked 3 or 4 meters, and sat back down again. And the rabbis in the group said, a tree has no authority here when it comes to halakha. So Rabbi Eliezer said, okay, if it's in accord with my views, then the stream will prove it. Whereupon the stream flows backwards. Rabbis say the same thing. Stream has no authority. We do not listen to a stream here. Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, if it's in accord with my views, the walls of the Beit Midrash will prove it. Whereupon the walls began to tilt. And Rabbi Joshua stood up and upbraided the walls, saying, do not move. You are not allowed to intervene in halakhic discussions, whereupon the walls stopped out of respect for Rabbi Joshua. But out of respect for Rabbi Eliezer, they didn't move back to where they were. And legend has it the walls are still tilted the way they are today. Finally, out of such frustration, Rabbi Eliezer screams almost, okay, if the halakha is in accord with my views, then let a voice from heaven proclaim it. Whereupon a voice from heaven says, what's the matter with all of you? You know that the law almost always goes in accord with Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. And Rabbi Joshua says back to the voice, quoting from Deuteronomy, back to the voice, the Torah is not in heaven, which is what is said to the Israelites when they received the Torah. The Torah is not in heaven. It is right here. It is among us. And even a voice from heaven does not have authority in a halakhic argument. It is up to all of us, the Jews that are here now who have received the Torah, to take it and make of it what we will, and to define the halakha and the laws according to how we live today. And the end of the story, or the short end of the story, is that sometime later God met Elijah on the road, which happens a lot. Elijah and God meet on the road. And Elijah asks God about this, and God, laughing, says, "My children have defeated me." So the Torah is all of ours, it's all of yours. And when we sit here, when you read or study any Torah at all, you are doing holy work. And we may not be as wise or as learned as the rabbis from them, but it's ours as much as it was theirs. And that's it.
Thank you.
Lecha Dodi.
Lecha Dodi, we're going to turn to page 138, and together we're going to read verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And on the 9th verse, we're going to stand and welcome our Sabbath bride. So page 138 for Lecha Dodi. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekavela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekavela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem tiferet v'litchila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Likrat shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha, merosh mikedem nesucha, soch ma'aseh b'machshava tchila la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Itoreri, ki va'orech kumiori, uri shir daberi, kevod Adonai alaich nigla la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. We rise and face the back. Boi v'shalom ha'teret balach, gam besimcha uvetzochola, toch emune am segula. Boi chala, la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela.
Page 142 for Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem. We are welcoming our Shabbat angels. And if you all could sing along with me, I know we're a cappella tonight, but that's great because we can really hear each other. All right. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Nile Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitkhem leshalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech, malachei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. All right. Wayne, would you like to come up and light our candles? Well, anyone else? Anyone wants to join you?
Oh, please, come on.
Oh, and Bailey, of course.
Should you bring the candles down to Bailey, or are you going to bring Bailey?
I'm going to bring Bailey up to the candles.
Okay, good idea.
It looks like we have company, Bailey.
Right.
Close your eyes, be closed.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, shel Shabbat. Good Shabbos. Thank you, Bailey. It's beautiful.
Rise for the Baruch Hu on page 146.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Stay standing for the Shema on page 152. Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Shem kevod malchuto leolam vaed.
Ve'ahavta on 154, you may be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom alevavecha Veshinantam levanecha, vedibarta bam, beshivtecha bevetecha, uvelechtecha vaderech, uvshochbecha, uvkumecha, ukshartam lehot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot bein einecha. Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
We will find Micha Mocha on 158 and the list of people we are thinking of for Misha Ber. Did I say Micha Mocha?
We'll start with the Micha Mocha and then
Me this, me that. So.
All right. Yes, we'll start with Micha Mocha, our prayer for freedom on page 158. Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar ba'kodesh, Nora tehilot osefele, Nora tehilot osefele. Malechutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'elianu ve'amaru, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed.
162 for Shamru.
For Vishamru. All right. Page 162. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat Lasot et ha-shabbat ledorotam berit olam Veshamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat Lasot et ha-shabbat ledorotam berit olam Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael B'nei Yisrael oti leolam Bishamru B'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat Lasot et ha-shabbat ledorotam berit olam Ki shesh yet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-shabbat Lasot et ha-shabbat ledorotam berit olam Uvayom hashvi, Shabbat vainafash, Shabbat vainafash, Shabbat vainafash, Veshamru Bnei Israel et ha-Shabbat. Lasot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam.
Now the Misha Barak.
Yes.
It was the Debbie Friedman reference.
Yes.
So now, the Misha Barak you will find on 371. Our list of people that we are thinking of today is on page 2 of your insert. And if there's anyone else that you would like to add to the list, well, let me read first. Janet Blake, Pam Branner, Lynn Newman, Sharon Friedman, Diana Carew, Jeff Borowitz, Erwin Ames, Jeffrey Albaum, Bayla Robinson, Ed Edelson, Mark Joff, Jeff Stickler, Leanne Rosenberg, Trish Santana, David Berger, Doree Glazer, Glenn Martin, Paul Hittelman, Victor Sidlow, Sharon Fisher, Mike Bergman, Michael Burton, Andrea Schlossberg, Lisa Sage, Ryan Spears, the Nolan family, Debbie Schwartz, Rachel Rapport, and Phil Oberman, Michelle Feuerman, Jimmy Korshak, Ronnie Horowitz, Sidney Herstein, Sarah and Jacob Alone. Anyone you would like to add? Andrew Williams. Misha Barak. Well, actually, sorry. Forgive me, first time up here. We also think of those afflicted by acts of anti-Semitism and bigotry, those suffering in the Ukraine, those injured due to border challenges, those healing from all too frequent gun violence, those affected by terrorist attacks and environmental challenges, and all those who are caring for the ill. Now. Find the bridge and make ourselves a blessing, and let us say, Amen. We shed a shira, like Evotenu. Say, Amen. Thank you.
Have some technical difficulties. I am the tech queen. Well, it just goes to show how great Rabbi John and Joel are. We got big shoes to fill here.
Yeah. And we forgot to add Joel to the Misha Barak.
Yes, and Joel, who is healing from COVID right now.
164 and stand for the Amidah.
Maybe I could borrow that mic.
Oh.
And we face the ark. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Ha'gibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zoher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Hozer U'Moshiach U'Magin. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mehaye Hakol atah, Rav Lehoshiach, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim. Somech noflim berofeh holim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha bal gevurot, umidomelach, melech memit umechaye umatzmiah Yeshua v'ne'eman atal ha'ayotako Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim bechol yom lehallelu haselah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Continue with your silent Amidah as you wish. And be seated when you're finished.
Od yevo shalom aleinu, od yevo shalom aleinu, od yevo shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Od yevo shalom aleinu, od yevo shalom aleinu, od yevo shalom aleinu, ve'al kulam. Salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, salam, salam, salam. Aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam, salam, salam. Od yevo shalom aleinu, od yevo shalom aleinu, Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam. Salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam, salam aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Salam, salam. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu. Od yavo shalom aleinu ve'al kulam.
Thank you, Hallie. This week in the portion Pinchas, a lot happens, as often happens in Torah portion. But one of the central events is 5 daughters of Zelophehad, part of the Manasseh tribe: Mala, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. We don't hear anything else about in the Bible, but they come forward. This is after another census has been done. This is the book of Numbers, and the census has been done in part to figure out how property is going to be divided up in terms of inheritance within the clans and within the families. And these 5 daughters come forward and stand before Moses, Eleazar the prince, the chieftains, and it says the entire assembly at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And they say, "Our father died in the wilderness, and he has left no sons. Let not our father's name be lost to his clan just because he had no son. Give us a holding among our father's kinsmen." Now, think about the courage that would have taken. These are 5 young women, sisters, and the Torah even emphasizes their bravery by stating that they came and stood before, and then listing all the men that they were standing before, even before it says what they were actually requesting or demanding. They were demanding from the leadership of men the same rights as sons, of course, which all those men were. So it was asking essentially for something to be given to them by people who was never given it to someone other than themselves. And not just let us receive the estate by default because we don't have any brothers. It's declare it as our right, publicly and legally, you, Moses, in front of the entire assembly and all the leadership. And at the same time, they're not asking to dismantle the family order. They are not asking to undo any of the laws, really, and any of the traditions that have already been established since they've been in the wilderness. They understand the importance of preserving the best parts of the family name, its traditions, and its values. They want that to be part of, so their father's name is not lost. They want that tradition. They want that name, the history and heritage that goes with one's name. Moses doesn't know how to rule, actually. It says he's perhaps intimidated by these 5 who have all of a sudden come up and are asking him, confronting him almost in front of the entire assembly. All Torah says is, Moses brought their case before Adonai. And Adonai said to Moses, "The plea of Zelophehad's daughters is just. You should give them a hereditary holding among their father's kinsmen. Transfer their father's share to them." Boom. Very simple. Moses isn't sure, but Adonai actually is. Adonai is saying, yes, let's have what is, in a sense, a huge advance here for this civilization that is this beginning civilization. And you can almost hear, I suppose, the impatience in Adonai's response. Their plea is just. Give them what they want. And a later midrash will actually imply that one reason why Moses is not permitted to enter the promised land is because he was hesitant to rule, in this case, punting the decision, as it were, to God. But then later on in Deuteronomy, he boasts that if the cause is too hard for you, bring it to me and I will hear it. So, again, that's one midrash about this moment. Now, you could see this story as an isolated, very isolated example of Torah's sort of ancient feminism, given that the rest of the book doesn't necessarily treat women with the same level of respect. But in some ways, not to put too fine a point in it, in some places our current political climate is taking steps backwards. We don't hear enough that is being declared that the plea of daughters is just. Not to mention that we are redefining the meanings of daughter and son and their traditional pronouns. And justly so are we redefining them, several thousand years after this event. As Miranda in The Tempest discovers, in wonder and in awe, we too are in a brave new world that hath such people in it. Proving once again that Shakespeare is a great playwright and perhaps also a biblical prophet. I don't read this story, however, as being about gender identity, despite what I just said, at least not this year. That could be next year's commentary. It's first about applying the lessons, a meaning of Malah, Noah, Hoglah, and Milcah, and Tirzah, and it's important to always mention their names. The Torah makes a point of mentioning their names. They aren't just the daughters, it introduces them as daughters, but then names them. And following the very simple words of Adonai's, at home, as parents, and by the way, as children too, no matter how old you are as a children, and we are all children. It's another example of the Torah being a family story that is fraught with background about family dynamics and alliances and family secrets. Now, these 5 daughters themselves are descendants of Joseph, the central figure in one of the most extreme examples of family dysfunction. And they are a distinct counterpoint to the jealousy, enmity, and even the murder between sons and brothers all the way back to Cain and Abel, very first family story. After Adam and Eve leave the garden, the first family story is about brother killing brother. These daughters, however, have come together and remain unified. And in the Torah, parents rarely escape responsibility. They've actually also been actively enabling, in many respects, the division between their children. Adam and Eve give Abel much easier property to deal with than Cain, much easier job. Rebekah clearly intervenes with Jacob, with Isaac. They've all actively, as I said, engaged in the division, and given those history and the long family dynamics, the insight and bravery of Mahlah, Noam, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah is even more remarkable. Now, like Rabbi John and Lisa, my wife and I have 2 daughters, Gabby, who was born 27 years ago next month, and Lexi, who was born 24 years ago last night. We had our usual birthday dinner, just as we do every family birthday. And Ann and I also take them out for dinner on our anniversary, and that's our anniversary dinner, is to take our children out. And we gave Lexi an LP of Carole King's greatest hits. Because yes, some of you may not know, I've learned that people in their 20s, a lot of people, they do listen to records. They like records. They buy records. They call them vinyls. And she and her friends buy them and listen to them, and their music tastes far broader than ours was, even though I had a very broad taste than mine was at that time, because it encompasses Taylor Swift and Adele and Fleetwood Mac and Van Morrison and also Carole King and Joni Mitchell. Lexi was familiar with Carole King from the song Where You Will Lead, I Will Follow, which is the theme song from the Gilmore Girls. Great show, by the way, about mother and daughter. And I knew that song because every woman in my high school had the album Tapestry, every single one. But I learned last night that Carole King had stopped performing it because she felt the lyrics, such as, I never thought I could get satisfaction, I'm not going to sing, by the way, clearly. I never thought I could get satisfaction from just one man, but if anyone could keep me happy, you're the one who can. Felt that those lyrics were not very empowering and no longer in keeping with the times of the 70s and the 80s. But her daughter approached her during when the Gilmore Girls was just sort of in formation, Louise Goffin, and they revamped it together for the show, adding new lyrics such as, you never know how it's all going to turn out, but that's okay. Just as long as we're together, we can find a way. So they turned a song that was about a woman's attachment and intent following a man wherever he went into something that is about the bond between a mother and daughter, with the knowledge that, in Louise Goffin's phrase, there is no distance that is too far to go to be with your child. And just as the Torah portion is the same, that song is essentially the same, but with a few little changes of words, it speaks in a whole different way and has a whole second life. We can't change the lyrics of the Torah portion, but we can make new meanings and put them to work every time we read the Torah. One of the proudest accomplishments, I would say, in my life is the Jewish identity that my daughters Gabby and Lexia have. I know my wife joins in these two. Proudest achievement of our life, accomplishments, is that they have a strong Jewish identity and that they act with the very courage and love of family that these 5 daughters had. And they are writing their own stories. So there's a great midrash to be written about the next chapters in the lives of Malah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah, and how their courage and that ethical, hereditary holding of their kinsmen out into the world, how they took their courage and that ethical holding out into the world, and how they continued to act with the courage that they displayed in front of the whole assembly for the society at large. Not only is there a great midrash, but maybe there's a great pop song. So, have at it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan.
We have time for announcements.
Yes.
Of course.
From our board host tonight, which is
Who is,
our
I'm sorry,
co-president, Cynthia.
new co-board president,
Yes.
Cynthia.
Shabbat Shalom. So, how do I follow that with these wonderful announcements? But thank you, Jonathan. I want to thank him. Can I thank you? I want to thank you so much for being here tonight and filling in on such short notice and putting together such incredibly thoughtful, wonderful remarks. As a daughter in the room, and speaking on behalf of all the daughters in the room, thank you. It was beautiful. And Carole King fans. I know there are a lot of them in this room. Thank you so much. And thank you, Hallie, also. Short notice, being here. Really, really appreciate it. We're so happy you're a part of our family, and your voice is so beautiful.
Thank you.
And Jessica of all trades tonight, huge thank you. She is stepping in and filling every role tonight, so really appreciate you. All your comments about family made me want to also acknowledge we have 2 really beautiful families with us tonight. So the Rapport family, our hearts are with you, and to the Newman Cast family, we're also our hearts are with you as you celebrate your Yahrzeit, and thank you for sponsoring our own egg tonight. Couple of announcements. There are party books this summer. hostess and host over there. Raise your hands. There's still space in our party books, so look at the back page of your Shalom sheet. We have the Laureen, our executive director, annual Laurinis, Martinis, and Weenies coming up. That's this Thursday. And Bunko with our wonderful Shulman hosts, and Sounds and Sips, which I don't know that much about Sounds and Sips, but it sounds very interesting. Sounds very relaxing. If you love to sing, our cantorial soloist, Dr. Joel Stein, is looking for additions to the choir, so bring your friends. I know many members of our choir are here tonight. And as you know, it's July, so it's our new fiscal year. So you all received your congregational commitment information. So vote early and often. Send it in, please. And please join us at Oneg after the service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. As Cynthia mentioned, the Rapport family is here. And as we turn towards Kaddish, we think of Abby on our recently departed list. Our hearts and thoughts go out to you. Yard sites, which you can also find in your booklet. Pauline Bank, Larry Benjamin, Jerry Chutkow, Michael Flamer, Betty Greenwald, Marilyn Hassan, David Holtz, Ted Holtz, Charles Camrush, David B. Corpiel, Beverly Levine, Sam Lewis, Sam Maltz, Milton Newborn, Esther Oren, Harold Parks, Phyllis Leah Schaffner, Albert Shapira, Bruce Sherman, Marion Sherman, Stuart Sobel, Liesel Spiegel, Abraham Samuel Staub, Evan Stein, Ron Steingieser, Ken Wildman, Tina Schuyler. As I move my hand around, if you have anyone you would like to add to that list for Kaddish. We add to those. We also hold in our prayers those taken by gun violence, those that have passed due to floods, fires, and other natural and unnatural disasters, those that have passed in the LGBTQ community and that have no one but us to say Kaddish for them, and all those killed in regional conflicts. You will find Kaddish on 598. Please rise. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. B'alma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. B'gala v'zman kariv v'imru Amen.
Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran b'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu. V'nu ve'el kol Yisrael v'imru.
Yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. All right. And if you feel comfortable putting your arms around the people next to you, we are going to sing Oseh Shalom together. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Shabbat Shalom. I always pick a note too high to start on. I don't know why I do it for that one. I do it every time.
And I felt bad that I stood next to you because I did not want my singing.
No, that's okay. But we are going to conclude with our Kiddush and Motzi. And I'd like to call up anybody who just returned from our Israel trip. If you'd like to come up and for our Kiddush and Motzi.
Anyone come up? As you're coming up, I wanted to say one thing just about the ritual objects, that there's a thought that there is any prayer or any blessing we have, there is the keva and the kavanah. The keva is what is set. The nigun, the words, that's set every single time. The kavanah is the intention and meaning that we put into it. And a Kiddush cup is a perfect example of that because we beautify what is the keva, which is the container of this. So we beautify what is the container, however it is the wine or the juice, and the intention that we put in blessing the wine and drinking it that really makes it the holy that it is. And you need both, because without the container, the wine would be on the floor, we wouldn't be able to bless it. So anytime there's a prayer or any other blessing or anything you do that is part of your Jewish ritual, there is always a keva and a kavanah. So just a little thought to keep in mind.
Thank you. Herb, would you like to hold the Kiddush up? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen.
Chaim, you can drink.
There's a couple there.
It's safe.
We can all hold the challah together. Yeah. So we'll uncover it. All right. And together we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
And anybody who would like to come up and have some challah, you're welcome to. And then if you all would like to join together for oneg in the social hall.